A really common problem that artists have is when they want to practice drawing or create an actual original piece, but this overwhelming, frustrating, paralyzing feeling stops you. It kind of gets you overthinking, analyzing, and overwhelmed. Sometimes you'll find yourself sitting there with a blank canvas. Other times you'll be scrolling through YouTube trying to find, the solution. And you just can't get yourself to start drawing. You feel that things that you know right now isn't good enough and that you won't be making progress. And even though people are like, oh, just like, don't be perfect, just make it good enough, you still feel this paralyzing feeling that stops you from even trying. So if this sounds like you, I'm going to be going through a whole series of ideas that will hopefully get rid of your perfectionism and allow you to still make progress. And if you find this helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you sent this to someone that also has this problem, because I kind of suck at thumbnails and they may not find this. But yeah, let's get into it. You want to make progress, but perfectionism is stopping you. What is this? From my experience, it's this expectation that puts pressure on you. This expectation of myself to be able to create good art and improve fast was something that brought a lot of overwhelm and frustration when I didn't know how. It's an expectation that often comes from comparing yourself to people or comparing yourself to something you did in the past, right? You see all these artists online, or you have some group of friends that are improving faster than you, and suddenly you set this expectation of yourself to be able to keep up with them, right? You feel like you need to catch up. You feel like you're falling behind. You see other people doing it easily, so why can't you do it just as easily? And you start to justify that I just have to find it, right? There has to be like some kind of secret. This belief becomes even worse if you actually succeed at something. Like if you had a really good idea for a piece and just going through the process was really easy because everything was aligned, but that was just like a lucky situation. Your actual skill is much lower, but now you have this belief of, oh, I can actually keep up with these people that I feel behind. And then you become attached. Right? You become attached to this outcome that you didn't really deserve. And since you don't really deserve it, then that would mean that you don't have the skills, or you yourself aren't skilled enough and experienced enough to do something like that again, to replicate it. But you falsely believe that you are capable of that right now. And so having this fear of needing to catch up, along with proof that you've done something in the past, your brain starts to build up this perfectionistic tendency. If I imagine myself drawing a really good painting and then attempting to practice in the future, it'll feel like I'm not doing as well, or I'm not improving as fast as I used to. So it'll make me feel like I'm falling behind. And in order to catch up, our brain starts to cope and say that I need to do better. I need to work harder. I need to create this perfect plan to be able to improve faster. And since I've been slowing down in progress, I feel like I have to make up for that. And to make up for it, I need a perfect plan. Something that will be able to boost me and make me feel okay for missing all the improvement that I should have gotten, because I'm able to get all that improvement in like one go with a perfect plan. Your goal starts to change. You start to go from wanting to reach a goal eventually to how much can I improve in the shortest amount of time, in the shortest amount of effort, in the least amount of effort, because you're in so much pain from feeling the need to catch up or not being able to meet the expectations of the piece that you made before. And if this all sounds like nonsense, that's because it kind of is. This perfectionism is an entire fantasy that you make up in your head. It's a fantasy where we achieve something so great that it makes up for everything else that you've messed up on. Like trying to find a special pill that cures all your problems and pain instantly, instead of dealing with them one by one, right? If this pill exists, who wouldn't want to go chase that pill? If that pill exists, why would I want to work on my problems slowly? Except this pill is made up by your mind. It's made up by the misinterpretations of seeing artists improve at a fast rate. It's not taking into account all the effort that's put in, and regardless of how much they know or whether they have a perfect plan. But your mind kind of feels like you have so many problems and pains built up that the only way to get rid of them is with this pill. So I have a lot of things relating to this in my personal life. I've been struggling with this with YouTube because I wanted to make, fancy edited videos like other people. And I've made like fancy edits before, so I kind of set the expectation for myself for being able to create something like that again. But I don't have the skill to do that. I don't have the skill to be able to plan everything in my head and see, you know, what kind of animation goes here versus if it goes here, or what kind of text to use. Yet I still expected myself to make something of that caliber in a single video, of course. If you've procrastinated a lot on your drawings and haven't been practicing and feel like you're falling behind, you feel like if you let go of this perfect plan that potentially exists, then you'll feel like you'll never improve because you'll never be able to catch up. You gotta slow down for a second. The goal of it all is actually to improve, right? That's my goal at least. I just want to become a great artist. There's actually no need to catch up. That's just something our brain decided to take on as time went on. But in reality, this goal, this desire to catch up is slowing me down. We have to learn to let go of this perfectionism. And simply saying let go of it is confusing. So let me walk you through the process. And it all starts with realizing that the pill never existed. There was never a perfect plan, or a way for you to instantly catch up the way you want to. And to do this, we're actually going to go through the 5 stages of grief. If you're familiar with that, it's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I apologize if this is triggering, but we're going to go through it. I'd say denial and anger are the stages where you first notice that your friends are getting ahead of you, or that artists are improving far beyond what you can comprehend. Like, there's no way that he's improving that fast, and why can't I improve that fast as well? But then you start bargaining. You try to figure out ways, like, is there a way that I can improve that fast as well? And the stage of perfectionism is this bargaining stage. This is where you're trying to formulate a plan to get something that doesn't really exist. Think about if you've lost a loved one, or the idea of losing someone. You understand how angry or devastated you would be when you get the news that your mom died. Like, there's no way. The fuck do you mean my mom died? You start yelling at the person that's calling you, like, why didn't you stop it? Like, what happened? Why didn't you do anything? Then you start bargaining. You start wishing and feel like you'd do anything to get back your mom. You start praying to God, even though you're not religious, for like a second chance. And this is where we're all stuck at. We're just praying for a chance for something that's already happened. We're praying for that Fortnite reboot card that will never exist. And the only way to get through this is accepting it, which is why the next step is depression. When you lose someone, then the truth, no matter how much you try to cope or how much you're in denial, the truth will eventually hit you, right? There's really nothing you can do. What's happened has happened, and it hurts, dude. Even for simple things like art, where there's really no perfect plan that will let me reach that speed of progress that they're having. You realize that you don't actually have talent, and that probably no easy way to make the process of learning simple. You gotta take your loss. Same thing with sports, right? If you played really, really good for a single game, everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, you're amazing. How did you get this good? But after that one game, you're back to your normal self. And suddenly you have this expectation of yourself to be able to play at that level again. But in reality, it was just like so many things lined up that you were able to play really good. And if you hold yourself to this expectation and how other people will view you, if you don't meet the expectation, then it will ruin your progress. So you have to take your loss. You have to accept it. Things that you did that game were simply a part of that game. It's out of your control to change it, and you currently don't have the skills to replicate it. But I'm not saying that you'll never reach that point. It's just the process of getting to that point won't be the same. You won't instantly jump into a game and play 10 times better than you are in practice. Usually you'll play at the level or below your practice. But sometimes we get lucky and we eat really good food at the perfect time, and we sleep really well. And we see an opportunity that doesn't come up in other games. And you just gotta accept that opportunities won't come like they did for that game. So moving back to art, maybe there's a time where you're learning fast, or maybe you see that other people are learning easily, and you can try to bargain your way to learning these secrets to improving. All the details to make you faster in your progress and pray that talent will suddenly arise and everything will be easy. But if you're just trying to cope and you're not taking the steps to work on your art consistently, learning new topics and adding them to your art pieces, then this idea of faster progress needs to go, or whatever it is for you. I'm merely focusing on a problem that I have or have seen. So if I haven't talked about your problem specifically, I apologize, but you should be able to use this framework to take on your own problem. And you have to let yourself be depressed that you're probably going to be the slowest learner out of all your friends, that you probably don't have any talent, and that it won't suddenly emerge, and that there is no secret to improving. And yes, this should hurt. It should be scary to think that you have to be at this beginner stage for a while, and maybe you'll even feel like quitting because the reason you started art was because you thought you had talent, but you just have to give up on this expectation. Kind of like willingly ending a snap streak that you've been keeping up for 2 years. You'll make the other person feel sad. You'll feel sad because you made them feel sad. But if you want to stop using your phone every day, then you gotta stop this snap streak. And after letting it go, it'll be easier to be imperfect. And being imperfect allows you to make progress. Things like finding a way to enjoy the process or lowering your expectations are pieces of advice that will actually work now and you can actually apply. If you can't apply advice like this, then there's probably more that you're holding on to. And you have to go through this process over again to see what kind of expectation you're holding on to. Now, if I force you to draw right now, you'll probably still have problems that come up. Things like, how do I improve? Or what do I do to learn? And will it actually lead to my goals? These are questions that come from your perfectionism. And if you simply sit down and think for a second, you'll probably realize that you already know the answer, but you just didn't feel like it was good enough. And if I've learned anything about going through processes like this, once you just apply what you already know to what you're trying to learn, it becomes a lot easier to learn compared to trying to find the perfect process. Because to be honest, you probably won't even understand the perfect process anyway. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this video. Yeah, just really quick, I have a Patreon where I post things I learned during my art journey, and I have a Discord server, both in the description. So yeah, check that out. Hope this helps. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Take care.